Cool.
I've got 5 spice. I've got mustard. I've got mayo. I've got burger sauce. Everything that goes with it.
Right, okay, thank you, good start. Welcome back to the Scarfey Spurs podcast. Introduced by Kallum there. Thank you very much for coming back. Reminder, if you're listening on a podcast platform, please just drop us a follow and a 5-star review. If you're listening on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. Let's introduce tonight's panels. We'll be previewing PSG in that Super Cup final. We're talking all things Tottenham and transfers. Firstly, Joseph, welcome back on. How are you doing? And talk to people a little bit about what you do and who you are.
Yeah, thank you for having me back again, Harry. It's great to get back on, talking with you, Kallum, Justin. Really looking forward to it, getting into everything Spurs. Been an eventful couple of days, especially around Tottenham. I've been all right myself, doing well. But again, with Spurs, it's kind of a roller coaster time at the moment. So, yeah, looking forward to getting into it all with you guys. And again, Joseph, THFC, if you want to have a look at anything else I'm doing. But again, just really get stuck into it and get into everything going on around Spurs.
100%. Thank you for joining us today. Justin, welcome back onto the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for having us on. I mean, I know obviously, Cal's devastated because he's usually the token bald guy, but, I thought I'd join in, make up the numbers. As I say, usually find me on social media, chatting all things Spurs. So, it's been a while. So looking forward to catching up with you lot.
Should be good, thank you. It has been a while indeed. Kallum, I have a bit you're going to say something there. Thank you very much for coming on as well. Talk to people a bit about what you do. And I would ask you how you are, but I see you quite regularly because we live quite close. So I'm assuming you're still doing well.
Oh,
I'm
not sure which spice he's using at the moment.
Sorry, mate. I think my connection went then. I lost everything. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
just tell us how you are.
Yeah, easy
Can
start.
you hear me?
It's the fan. I think you need to put your fan back on.
Yeah, you're overheating.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I am good. It's fucking hell, don't. I am doing it. I'm doing it. Yeah, no, I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's been a busy period, hasn't it? So I've been on and off doing little bits here and there, but yeah, it's fucking hell.
Right, thank you for coming on. I think you've got some connection issues, so I'll let you sort that in the background. But let's get into the podcast for now. Goodness me, great start. So let's talk transfer news firstly and go to Slovenia. A big bombshell in the last few hours or so, and that is that Tottenham are making an approach to sign Manchester City midfielder Slovenia. This come to me as a massive surprise. So Joseph, I'll kick it off with you if you don't mind. What are your thoughts on this? And if we did sign him, would it be a signing of real intention from Tottenham?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it last night, it was it was a really surprising one. I think one that, again, kind of that whole idea of Lang and working in the shadows kind of thing. It seems like one of those kind of deals because it seems quite, seems like we're moving through it quite quickly and already looking to table like a 50 million offer, which I imagine will be rejected. But again, a really surprising one. When I first saw it, I was quite... I was wondering how it's going to fit because it does feel like an interesting one. Obviously, with him being predominantly a right winger for Manchester City this year, for him to maybe come in for Spurs. Obviously, we just signed Kudus. We've already got Brennan Johnson on that side. It's going to be very interesting how we move the team around. Is he going to end up becoming a left wing? Is somebody, maybe Kudus, going to move centrally? It's very interesting to see how the fit will work. But the main thing I've been seeing is Thomas Frank really wants the player. And if Spurs are behind him and want to get his player, then that is great to see. Again, it's a bit of an interesting one. You didn't really see him leaving Manchester City this year. Partly probably because it's a World Cup year. Maybe he wants to try and make the Brazilian squad, and knowing he isn't going to be the first name on the team sheet every week at Manchester City is a reason why he might be willing to leave. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely a statement of intent, something that I think all Tottenham fans have been desperately waiting for. And finally, it looks like Tottenham are trying to deliver that. Obviously, I'm not going to hold my breath. We haven't got it over the line yet. So let's wait and see, because when we thought the Morgan Gibbs White deal was all but done, and then look at the saga we went through with that. So let's be careful and not get too ahead of ourselves. But I think he'll be a good signing for Spurs. I really like Savinho. He's a great one-on-one winger, and I think he could do really well alongside Kudus on the other side. I think that's a great wing partnership to build the team with.
Certainly is. Thank you, Joseph. I totally agree with you on that. Justin, are you surprised by this, like I am? Maybe. What are your thoughts on this? If you can unmute yourself first, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, sorry about that. To be fair, Tottenham have had history of this, in terms of, we saw it with Odebear last year, where out of the blue he was signed, and no one sort of knew anything about it. So it doesn't surprise me, something like that. I do like the idea. I think he does offer something different I think him and Kudus offer something different to the others that we have. They're more pacey. They're not afraid to take on their opponent. Get down that wing, get those crosses in. We saw that with Savinho last year, and I think in the first season that Kudus was actually at West Ham, we saw a lot of that. So it is a real. It was a surprise, but then the one thing that we have seen, particularly with Man City and particularly with Pep Guardiola, he will not stand in a player's way. If a player has made it clear he wants to go, and let's be honest, I don't think Tottenham would have gone this far down if there wasn't an interest from him, because as I said, to have gotten this far, you tend to think, as I said, you look at the players that have left, Pep's let them leave. There's certain players you'd be like, well, surely he'd want to keep them, but actually he's been quite open about saying, don't want to be here, they don't want to be here. I'm not going to force them, the clubs then do the rest. So he, I think, will give some really good competition. I've heard talk, obviously, of the whole idea of, does Kudus then go in the middle or things like that. I don't really like that idea, to be honest. I think he is a natural winger. I think, he's got versatility in him like Savinho. So I think it's, to me, this is the club actually doing something it very rarely does, and actually replacing someone who's left. When we look at Kane, he was not replaced until the following year. Son has now left. This, to me, is a Son replacement, and I do think it makes sense. So hopefully they are. I genuinely think this one does get done because it's Man City. Other clubs I'd have been not so sure, but because it's Man City, and there's talk they might even go and look at Rodrigo, I think it happens. So to me, if it does, I think it's going to be an excellent signing. As I said, he's very, very forward-thinking, attacking, and will really go at defenders, which is something that's been lacking in our wingers for far too long.
Certainly has been. I totally share that with you. Kallum, can I get your thoughts on this latest bombshell, as I like to call it? And suppose a more specific question to you. What price do you think City will accept? Because I don't think they're going to make it easy, are they?
No, I mean, the sort of fee that's being touted about at the moment is more towards the sort of 50 to 70 million mark at the moment. Apparently, we put in our first offer and it fell short of what City's valuation was by about 10 million. But that could be including add-ons. So I think we're looking at probably a ballpark of around sort of 60 million. I think we'd get the job done. But that's only from certain information. I reckon that we could do it for 50, to be honest, maybe 55. So, yeah, there's definitely it's a lot of money, because obviously probably put all four of us together with the money that we've got would be nowhere near it. I'm not going to lie. I think if we were millionaires, I don't think we'd be podcasting. I'm not going to lie. I think we'd be on a beach somewhere quite nicely enjoying it. So no disrespect to us, but we ain't really that good. But in all honesty, I think it's a really good signing. I mean, the end product in terms of scoring goals has a lot to be desired, but the fact that he's actually assisted 8 goals in the Premier League, I mean, I think Son had less than that as well, and this guy's 22, so he's got potential. He's got sort of a better ceiling than a lot of other players that we've looked at, to be honest. So no, I'm excited by it. I think it's a good deal, and it's one that came a little bit left wing, because I know there was 3 people that we were sort of looking at, and he came out as the most financially viable and the most likely to agree to a deal, if you get what I mean as well.
Okay, thank you, Kallum. Justin, do you maybe feel that this could drag out, not to the extent that Gibbs White did, but just for like a few days? Because it seems to be, even if it's just a little, there is a gap, it seems, in valuation at the moment.
I'd be surprised, because you're clearly getting an indication that they're, as Kallum said, there's a figure there, and they've looked at other people clearly, and I think as Kallum said, it financially ticks most of Spurs' boxes. So I think it's done less. For me, it's less than 60 million, and this deal gets done. I think it will be put to the club that they want to just get this done, get him through the door. We know that there is fan unrest, and we know that obviously Change for Tottenham are talking about a gathering. I think it's this weekend for the Burnley game. Myself, I'm sort of happy to just see out the window first, but I do feel that the club hasn't had the best window. I think it has floundered. So I do feel that, to me, I think there's an appetite from all sides, if this deal is going to happen, just for it to happen. I don't see why City would want it to drag out. I think they're looking at selling on a few players. So I think if they can get them out the door, frees up the wages, and then allows for them to potentially go for, with one of the rumours I heard was Rodrigo at Real Madrid. So, I think from their perspective, and I think also from Spurs, this is a deal that needs to be done fairly quickly, really. I think, if they could do that, and maybe if there's another one they can get done, ideally before the Burnley game, because as we saw against Munich, we offered very little up top. So I think if we have a bad start against Burnley, you're going to then start getting noises and concerns, disgruntled fans, things like that. So if, for example, they could get Savinho at least through the door, maybe not he doesn't play, but through the door, then you can turn around and say, okay, right, look, we haven't got him here, but here he is. A bit like with Van der Ven, as he was sat in the stands, someone like that to say, right, we haven't got him yet, or he can't play, but he is here. You can see what we're doing. So, I think, I'd be surprised if this isn't done by the end of the week at the very latest.
Okay, love that. That's what we want. Thank you, Justin. Let's hope you're right. Joseph, are you surprised like I am, because I honestly really am, that Man City could let Jack Grealish, James McAtee and Savinho leave all in the space of kind of like a week? Does that surprise you?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that I could see possibly causing maybe a tiny hold up. With James McAtee, obviously it looks like that deal to Nottingham Forest is almost complete. Jack Grealish to Everton is pretty much done. I think he had his medical today. I don't know if it's been announced yet by Everton, but it's very close to being announced. We know that. Obviously, that one's only on a loan, but I think Manchester City are finished. I think his career is finished at Grealish. His career is finished at Manchester City now. So I guess you're looking at their wingers right now. Their options. You've got Jeremy Doku. You've got Ryan Cherky. They've got some good wing depth. Obviously, Oscar Bob, if he comes back from injury, I'm not sure. They might have a couple others. There's a young Argentine. I think they've got Echeverria. I don't know if he's gone out on loan or not yet, but they've got some options in them wide areas. I don't know if Omar Mamouche could even be one of those winger options, but it does seem obviously, free players going out the door very quickly is, they definitely have to sign a replacement. And I'd be surprised if Manchester City sanction the sale of Savinho until they know for sure that they've got concrete options of replacement. Now, obviously, Justin said about Rodrigo. I think that's a match made in heaven, really. It's a good move for him. And Manchester City get an upgrade, I would say, on Savinho. But again, it's not as simple as just, we want him, we're going to get him. Obviously, it's the fee, it's the wages, it's... There's a lot around that. Obviously, other options like maybe Bradley Barcola doesn't look like he's leaving PSG. So it's tough. Manchester City need to make sure they've got that replacement, because we are only, a week away from the season starting. and Manchester City, for them to sanction them sales, which I know they will do, obviously, like Justin said as well, the idea of Pep, allowing these players to leave when they have expressed that they're not, they're happy to go and they would like to go. It looks like City usually do that, but again, they're not stupid. We know they're not. We know what they've done financially previously in the windows. They're going to make sure they have that replacement lined up before I feel like they sanction the sale. So we'll see how long it goes on for. Hopefully, by the end of the podcast, we get a here we go from Fabrizio Romano. He's holding up a Tottenham shirt tomorrow. But we know that's not how Tottenham usually work. We know that's a bit of wishful thinking, but we'll see. Again, I'm really happy with the idea of getting him. I think he'd do a lot to our forward line. But yeah, again, it's one that just came out of nowhere, and they're the ones that are the most exciting usually. When you don't have this whole, talk online, it's just players. Tottenham are interested in buying a player, putting in a bid, and it's great to see that we're hopefully going to get a very exciting signing over the line. I mean, personally, I know Arsenal got Madueke. I'd much prefer Savinho over Madueke, so I'm happy with the idea of getting him.
Yeah, agree with that. Definitely, hands down. Thank you, Joseph. Kallum, can I bring you in? What do you think Savinho's best position is, and I suppose how do he fit into this Thomas Frank system?
It's more likely that he's going to be sort of a versatile forward. I see it in that I think he can play left, right. He can play across that front three. So I think he offers more versatility than, say, Kudus does. He's more comfortable doing it. I know Kudus has done it in the past, but I think more left, but he's played a lot more on the right, if you get what I mean. So I think that he just offers more options to us than just limited to one position, to be honest. And it's what I've been banging on about all summer. Spurs don't want just one person to fit into that position. They want someone across the front 3 or 4 who can offer something different, because we knew how versatile Son was. We know how unversatile Richarlison is, to be honest. So they want someone who can multi-role in that. So I know you pulled a face at me about the pigeon, to be honest, but I mean, the whole of pre-season has summed up that he's literally about as useful as a chocolate teapot in the sun, and that he can't hit a barn door from 2 fucking yards out. So, I mean, that's where sort of Spurs' thinking is, and definitely my thinking. And I know JJ definitely shares it as well, to be honest, because we have had multiple debates on not how to keep him, it's more how shit he's been and how to remove him ultimately from the club in one way or another with extreme prejudice. And I know Joseph will back me on that. So
100%.
yeah, I think Savinho will have a lot of sort of versatility to offer us, and I think that by having that, it will help us a lot, to be honest. But I think he will play a lot on the left to start off with Johnson and Kudus being right, and Tell and Odebear competing with him, but Tell also competing with Solanke up top.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you, Kallum. I was doing a quick kind of research today, and it seems that Savinho scores more goals from the left, or he's played for Girona and other clubs, whereas on the right for Man City, he seems to get more assists, which is interesting. I don't know how much you kind of look into that. So I totally agree with you, and of course, can play that 10 as well. So
this is the thing that's so interesting about it, though, isn't it, Harry? Like, when you first see it on face value, you think, oh, he's been a right winger for Manchester City. Oh, we just signed a right winger in Kudus who's going to kind of start. Then you're thinking, okay, Savinho comes in. Does he play on the left? Does he play on the right? And Kudus moves to the middle or to the left? Because obviously Kudus played majority of last year on the left, obviously because of Bowen playing on the right at West Ham. So it's a really interesting situation, and you do wonder what is Frank's plan. Obviously, he's got this master plan, and you've got to think as well. Players currently at the club, is Tell going to be a left winger or a striker? Is Odegaard going to be playing at the left wing, or is he maybe going to go back to a 10 whilst we've got these injuries? Are we going to go sign another creative midfielder? It's a lot of questions for the fan base, and I think this Savinho deal added more questions. Although I'm still very happy about the signing, it's still making me wonder, how are we going to line up that first game of the season, or maybe once the window's finished, let's say that first game after, what is our ideal starting 11 and how does it line up? It's very interesting to see what kind of tactics Frank will employ with the players, the personnel we've got.
It is. And Josie made me think, so I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question here, if you don't mind. Let's say we get Savinio over the line and our front three kind of generally, let's say it somehow is for the Burnley game, if all things go to plan. It's Kudus on the right, Savinio on the left, and Solanke down the middle. How does that compare to the front three we saw a lot last season? Let's just play general here, Son, Johnson, Solanke, let's say. How does that compare? Is it a lot better this season?
On paper, definitely. On paper, I love that idea of that front three. I think Solanke was a little bit hung out to dry in the Ange system last year and wasn't really given the credit he deserved for the job he did. But I think in this Frank system, hopefully we'll see him actually on the end of on the end of the ball, getting the ball into the net and getting him on the score sheet more. I think Savinio and Kudus, the one thing that I love about them is they feel like, I know this is kind of a interesting term, but do you remember like the kind of cult Premier League players, when you think of those players that kind of got you off your seat and you're excited to watch each week, like Eden Hazard, Hassan Ben Arfa, things like that, Adel Taarabt. They kind of remind me of those type of players where when they're on the ball, they're going to do something magical with it. They can do something magical with it. So the idea of having two one-on-one wingers, specialists on the wing, it really excites me. And when you think about last year, again, I think partly you've got to think about it under Ange as well, the kind of how the wingers weren't given so much freedom. They were touchline wingers in a sense, and it didn't really cater to Son's expertise, what he's best at. But yeah, you got to say it was quite disappointing sometimes. I know people will say about Johnson and the goals he scored, but overall his complete game was quite disappointing last year. If you look at kind of his take-ons and the things he could do with the ball, it was just him getting on the end of the ball, it felt like for me. And Son, again, we knew it was coming towards the end of his Tottenham career. He was kind of on this decline. So, it on paper, it looks really promising. We have to see what it looks like in fruition, though. We need to see how it actually comes about. But hopefully, it could be promising. It could be an exciting time for Spurs going forward.
Let's hope so. No, I share that again with you. I think it looks promising, but we've got to see it, haven't we, in action? Because one of them gets injured or it doesn't go to plan. It just all of a sudden might not be as good as it sounds, as with everything. But Justin, before we move on to other players we've been linked with this week, if we get Savinio over the line, do we still need more attacking depth? Do we need to look further in that kind of market, I suppose, let's say for a number 10 or a backup striker? And if we do, what position for you should it be?
Simple. It needs to be a second striker. I think, Kallum put it so politely in his use of Richarlison. If I wasn't on this, I'd probably share exactly the same word for word views on him. But he's just not good enough. He isn't. Yeah, okay, he's great at the housery, but he's just. You talk about you want to take yourself to the next level. He does not do that. He does not take you to that level. To me, I don't understand how this hasn't even been done, dusted and sorted. Is you just turn around, and you go and get Vissa. You go and get Vissa through the door right now. Okay, it's a lot of money, and you still then got to deal with the joys of Richarlison, but at least you've got that quality player in that can give Solanke opportunities or competition, with it. I mean, we've seen it here. He's only played a few minutes of a pre-season friendly, and at the moment we're having to rely on Richarlison, which is just a worry for me. The other one's a number 10, and I know we're going to go on to who that could be. There's one name only, and it is the one that you're talking about in the chat. So,
and he's going to Arsenal.
If he does, he does. But then what that to me does show is the golf. It is the golf, because if, and as I said, I won't say anymore. We're going to come on to it in a moment. But going back to your original question, Harry, the two positions that Tottenham, I think, should be doing something is that like a big club, go get Vissa through the door, tell Richarlison, you don't want to go, that's fine, but you're going to have the same thing as Højlund is going to have. You're going to have the same thing as the others. You will rot in the reserves. We don't need you. Find somewhere else to go play football, or just maybe get a League Cup game if we feel like we need you. But to me, it should be Vissa and the guy we're going to talk about next.
Totally agree with you. Can I just play devil's advocate with Wissa? And can I just make it absolutely clear? I totally agree with you. I've been banging the Wissa drum for a little while now. And I personally, if I could choose, I like Richarlison, but I'll be saying, look, let's move you on and bring Wissa in. But the critics would say Wissa's had one really, that's it, one season in the Premier League where he's proven himself under Frank. He's 30 years of age now. Would that be unambitious?
Well, to be fair, you've got to remember you're looking at a striker who is going to give you competition. This isn't us going out and saying this is a new number one. Let's be brutally honest, we've got that in Solanke. But as we've seen, he's been injured in pre-season. He gets injured again. Who are we relying on? The Brazilian sick note. Let's face facts with it. He is injured most of the time. When he's not injured, he's rubbish. So, I get where you're coming from, because ultimately, should Tottenham be looking at something bigger than Vissa? Absolutely, they should. But again, we're talking about a bald cretin, and I ain't talking about Kallum this time, but the one who owns the club. We'll see how long that twig's taken. Oh, there it is. He got there in the end. But we will not go out. When you listen to Links in Sesko, we weren't at the table. When you listen to the Isak, we weren't at the table. We're never going to be. So I agree, Tottenham should be looking at bigger. But when you look at how much it's going to be, we're talking about a £30 million deal for Premier League experience and has scored lots of goals in a Thomas Frank system.
Yeah.
I cannot see how this has not got Spurs written all over it.
No, I'd like to chime in. Because I disagree completely. Now, fair enough. I actually do like Vissa as a footballer. I think he'd be perfect for Newcastle. I think, first of all, I think he's going to want to start. Second of all, I think if Tottenham are going to go get another striker, which I completely agree with you, we do need to do. I think ideally Richarlison goes out and we get somebody else in. I just think if we're going to do that, it needs to be a younger player. It needs to be someone that could maybe come in and kind of take, when Solanke is aging out, we need somebody to come in. Because at the moment at the club, would we say that it's Matthias Tell? Would we say that's someone else? I don't know. But I think we're going to need to get somebody in to take, to kind of be that successor. And Johan Vissa isn't that. I think he's older than Dominic Solanke. And also the fact that you said 30 million, it's not going to be 30 million. Brentford are going to want a lot more than that, in my opinion. They're probably going to want upwards of 40 million, possibly 45 to 50. And I don't think that's worth it for Tottenham. I think the money can be spent better elsewhere in the squad, especially on that creative midfielder role. I don't think it's worth spending that 40 million, 45 million on Johan Vissa right now. There's, obviously, don't get me wrong. I don't have the ready-made players that are going to be that young backup kind of player. But why don't we look at a player who's like 22, 23, maybe, someone who's kind of, or even possibly even younger. You could look at 2019, who you really have faith in to come in. Maybe you can get that for about 25 to 30 million. And that can be the player to challenge Solanke, yes, but also that that, okay, he's happy to be that backup for now. And he knows that he can come in and be the starter when Solanke starts aging out. Like, it was different when we had Harry Kane, because when we had Kane, the backup knew he was never getting in. The backup knew he never had a chance to get in, to get in front of Kane and to become the starting striker for Tottenham. We don't have that situation with Solanke. Obviously, we all love him. We all think he's a good player, but he's not, it's not like he's irreplaceable. If a player comes in and starts outperforming him, he can straight away get into that number number 9 for Spurs.
Well, Wissa take his place. That's the thing, because I'd argue he's in better form.
But again, I don't see the point of replacing someone who is good, who's 27, 28 years old, for a 30-year-old who's going to cost us £45 million. I just see we should spend that money elsewhere on the squad and then go and get a 22, 23-year-old who can come in and be that successor long term. That's the way I look at it personally. You're right, Justin. We wouldn't go get Sesko, and I know we wouldn't. We wouldn't go get one of these big strikers for 60, 70, 80 million. We know that Tottenham won't do that. But we can go get maybe like a Kallum Wendo type player, someone who's a bit younger, who has that kind of potential to possibly be that successor long term. That's the way I look at it. I don't see Vissa as that.
No, to be fair, that does make sense. But the one thing that goes against is where Tottenham have never really gone out and bought ready-made. And when we do buy that potential, so many times it's a completely unknown. You know, if you were talking about a Liverpool, a Man City, an Arsenal, a Chelsea, you get it, you understand it. But for every one of those potential they've bought that's worked, we have bought a Valise, right?
Of course.
You know, and this is where, you know, this is where the issue lies with it, because not only do Tottenham buy potential rubbish, when they do have potential that could be it, they're out the door on loan. You know, to me, I would have rather have, you know, to your point there, I'd have rather had Lancashire. But we sent him to Oxford. You know, and anybody who knows anything about Oxford, they buried Dane Scarlett last year. So to me, I think it completely counterproductive with regards to, you know, his progression. But we'll see. Hopefully he'll tear it up at Oxford. But the thing is, I don't trust Spurs in that field because of how many misses that we've had, and they don't seem to trust it. So I do feel, in an ideal world, if we were this so-called big club that we talk about being, then yeah. But for somebody that we could have for the next 2, 3, 4 years to go and get maybe 10, 15 goals, I'll be brutally honest with you, that's 10, 15 more goals than we will get from Richarlison.
No, and I agree with that. And again, this is why you're right, we need to make the right signing. But the one thing I'll say to you is this, okay? What do you think Tottenham's ceiling is this year? Personally, I think our ceiling is 5th place. There's no chance we break that top 4. We can finish above Newcastle and those clubs, but I don't see us finishing much higher with or without Visser. Now, the young players we've got, like Bergvall, like Archie Gray, like Odebear, like Tell, none of them are going to be world beaters today. Whereas in 3, 4, 5 years' time, we never know what they could become at Tottenham. Now, that's when you need to buy those ready-made starters. But the team, I don't think, is in the best position to compete right in this moment. And is it worth spending 50 million on a Johan Visser, which we know for Tottenham is a lot of money? That's not something we just do like that. We're not Chelsea. We don't spend 50 million like that and then go into the next window and go spend another 50 million and go spend another 60 million. We don't do that. So in my opinion, I think if Spurs are going to try and make a signing, I understand we have missed on a lot of young players, but I don't feel like that means we should stop. You know, we didn't miss on Bergvall, did we? We haven't missed on some of these players. So I don't know. I get what you're saying. I understand that sometimes having that ready-made player in Johan Visser is good. If Johan Visser was 25, 100%, I would hold my hand up and say, perfect idea, makes complete sense. But he's not. He's 30. And if, again, for a big thing for Tottenham is this whole idea of selling players. I mean, once Johan Visser comes in for 30, 40 million, 50 million, we're not selling him. His value is going to plummet because he's getting older and older. It's not. I don't know. I just don't see it as the perfect signing personally. But I do understand partly where you come from. I just think long term, I think there could be other options that would fit our timeline.
Okay, no, that's fair. Thank you. I really like that little conversation. Thank you both, Justin and Joseph. Let's go through now a few players we've been linked with. I want to very quickly touch on Eze rather. So, Kallum, I'll come to you. Would you like Spurs to rival Arsenal for Eze? And do you think it will happen?
I definitely want them to rival them. You know me. I love Eze, and I know me, Trav, and Joseph, and JJ had a massive one on this before the summer, and he was one of the big ones. So yeah, I would definitely like to get Eze. I think we will rival them, and there have been talks as of the last week. So yeah, potentially, not done, but potentially.
Should we be going for another Palace player, though, Kallum, in Mark Gahey? Because it's really interesting to hear what Steve Parish said. Bear in mind, Palace have just lost their Casa Pills. They'll be playing in the Conference League. Likely Forest will be promoted to the Europa League. Totally wrong, in my opinion, but we'll leave that to another day. Parish basically said that we might need to sell him. He's talking about, look, it's a situation where we need players to sign new contracts, and if they don't, then we cash in. He couldn't have been clearer that they're going to look to sell him.
Yeah, I mean, any sane club would look at Gahey. I think more from the player's point of view, would he want to come to Spurs? And it's not about about us paying the money or anything like that. there's 2 established starting centre backs already. It's whether he would want to come in and compete with that when he's been the number 1 man at Palace for 2+ years now. So I think whereas if he went somewhere like Liverpool, he's guaranteed probably to knock Konate straight out of that starting lineup. I think he would jump straight in. So English player, love it. A great player in the Premier League, very, very good. Take him all day long. I just don't think the player would personally choose us because he won't be guaranteed a starting spot, even with the amount of games that we've got. And the sort of, I think the sort of centre back we'd be looking for is more towards a versatile player who can play as a full back either side, who can then tuck in to make a back three. Let's put it that way. And Gahey's just not that, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, thank you, Kallum. Joseph, just quickly, do you think it's reasonable that we'll be maybe looking in the market for another centre-back, considering the injury record of Romero and Van der Ven, considering Takai's out injured, Dragson's out injured, which is long-term as well, which leaves us just with Danso and Vuskovic could go on loan still.
Yeah, it depends. I think the Dragusin injury depends on how long he's going to be. I don't know how close he is back now.
Quite far, I think.
If obviously he was out, it feels like he's been out with this ACL for quite a while now. It happened kind of halfway through last year. It felt like he was getting back a bit, quicker than we thought. But yeah, it seems to have slowed down again. So I think if we're going into this, first of all, I just think the ideal situation, just don't loan out Vuskovic, have him at the club, even maybe until January, and then once Ferguson's back, you can then loan him out. But right now, it doesn't feel like it's the best idea. Whilst you've got just Danso, Van der Ven, and Romero, because yes, you're right. Referring to that injury record for them two, it's difficult to say that we need those backup players. But I do agree with Kallum in the sense of I think it would be better to get a more versatile player that can play left back and centre back. It's just, again, it's convincing a player to come knowing he's not going to be the starter straight away. They need to come here and be ready to be back up to Van der Ven on the left. Realistically, a player who can play left back and centre back would be ideal, unless they were to play Jed Spence at left back as the rotational option with Udogie. There may be a right back, centre back. It depends. I don't know. But yeah, I think you need one of those players. And again, it's just, I don't know. I feel like Spurs have struggled. Like this whole idea of us trying to get Guehi, it doesn't make any sense to me because I don't see him coming to Tottenham. Like Kallum said, I don't see him coming to Spurs to be the backup. And it just completely makes more sense for him to go to Liverpool. Now, I don't know what player would fit that kind of left back, centre back role, who's willing to come up and be that come here and be that understudy. I think that would be quite difficult. So, but Tottenham. This is where Tottenham really needs to put their money where their mouth is and be willing to pay a decent wage to get a player to come here who doesn't have guaranteed football. And that's where we've always struggled. So we'll see. We'll see what we can do. But hopefully there's an option. I remember Hincapié from Bayer Leverkusen was always one that really fit that mould well, being a left back, centre back kind of player that inverts into a centre back to make a back three. But again, that's completely quiet. Obviously, Bayer Leverkusen have sold a lot of players this window, so I don't know how willing they will be to sell more. But yeah, I hope Tottenham are moving for a player in that position. But then we have heard from Thomas Frank that he does really like Ben Davis and wants him to be a big part of the squad.
I was going to ask you of that. He basically said that he's happy with his fullbacks. What do you make of that?
Yeah,
I find that quite shocking.
I'm quite worried in that sense because, again, we saw the state of our back line last year when we had injuries. It was Ben Davis and Archie Gray playing centre-back or Archie Gray playing right. It was awful. The drop-off was dreadful, and we haven't signed anyone in that position other than Kota Takai and Vuskovic, who both seem like they're not ready yet. So it's like, I feel like at the start of the window, and I think we've all been talking about in our group chat, we've always said we should be looking at a left back. We should be looking at that versatile centre back, left back. And when he says something like that, you're kind of thinking, Tottenham aren't going to reinforce here. And I do think there are more pressing matters in a sense. The 10, the cam is desperately needed. And I know I didn't get to say anything about Eze. I would absolutely love Eze. I just don't think we get him. I just don't see it happening. I just think he'll go to Arsenal. I think his dream is to play for Arsenal. Unless they basically pulled out of it and gone, we can't get it done, then maybe he would then move to Spurs. But I don't see him doing that until he knows that the Arsenal deal is dead in the water. I think he wants to go there. So, yeah, unless something miraculous happens and he decides, no, I'll go Spurs. I want to go to Spurs. Then I just don't see it happening. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting last couple of month or couple of weeks, going into this window, because there's still a lot Tottenham need to do. But even if we get the Savino deal done, again, you still need a creative midfielder. You still need really, in my opinion, need that defensive player that can play a bit more versatile as a left back, centre back. So we'll see what Spurs do, but it's been hard to believe in Spurs this window. It has been. It's been a slog for Spurs fans.
What's new, I suppose. But if we didn't have Champions League, I'd say, Davis and Odogi as the left backs and Porros as Spencer's, the right backs would be absolutely fine. With Champions League as well, for me, you just can't be relying on Ben Davis. But no, it's really interesting about what you have to say, Joseph. So I appreciate you giving your thoughts on that. Eze, it's really nice, isn't it, to be able to say that you come to Tottenham and you win trophies, and you go to Arsenal and you don't win trophies. How the times have changed. That's absolutely the way it should be. So what's Eze thinking? Totally bias involved in my thinking. But Justin, can I come to you and ask you about Mikey Moore, who signed a new long-term contract on Monday? Firstly, great news and a perfect birthday present for him, right? And well, unless you're looking at other ways.
Yeah, I think now we've seen a lot of Mikey Moore. I know obviously he's very young and Tottenham rate him very, very highly. I think the loan move is the right one. I think he should get a lot of game time. I think it's actually quite good because, there's been a lot of criticism of Rangers, particularly in the first two games of the SPL season. They haven't really started well, and the attitude from the players seems to have been quite poor. So I think for Mikey to go in there and show what he can do, I think the problem is that a bit like other players like Troy Parrott and other ones like that, they've just been thrown in, struggled with it, and then obviously not been seen the light of day. So you do think actually for him, to go out there to play regular football, I think regular Champions League football, hopefully as well, that's another thing that's going to be beneficial with regards to that. So really pleased he signed the new deal. Now we need to see the Mikey Moore. I think we're at that point where his potential needs to be turned into something special.
100%. And Justin, do you see him becoming a regular first team starter at Rangers, or just see him for now anyway as maybe more of an impact player and slowly makes his way in?
I think if it goes the way it should do, he'll probably slowly, gradually go in and what have you, and then he should make the position his own. As I say, in the Champions League, Rangers have looked brilliant, but in the Scottish Premiership, they've looked awful. So he really should have an opportunity there to cement his position, and make it his own. I think at least maybe a month or two before that happens, if not sooner than that.
Lovely. I'm just going to address a little YouTube comment. David Clark, you're a very valued regular here, but I do encourage you to open your ears sometimes and maybe listen to what has been said. Go back a little bit. I think we've been very constructive about the transfer window. We've said that more needs to be done. Justin in particular is laughing there, has expressed his concern with Tottenham not doing enough. You can't say that we're being, too positive. We do all think sometimes like you and sometimes we don't, and that is okay. I share your
concern.
David,
if you were in that group chat, you would see how negative I am about this window.
Let me tell you that.
How many times have I literally thrown my phone when I'm having a conversation with you? It's like hitting a brick wall.
Me and Justin, we're not.
I told you the good times are coming, didn't I? And look, it's happening.
We'll see, Kallum. All right. I'm not holding my breath until I see players holding those Tottenham shirts.
Yeah, I was going to say we've had a here we go from Romano, and we still lost out. So we'll pass judgment, as Joseph rightly said, when they're holding the shirt.
And I am willing to hold my hands up and say I was wrong if things do come to fruition, but I need to see it done because I do not trust.
But if they don't, Kallum, then we need a massive public apology from you.
Yeah.
Oh, eat shit. I'm not apologising for nothing.
Let's let Tottenham do the talking in the transfer market. But David, I always appreciate you, and I love your insight and your questions and your fixate on something. But please, honestly, do go back and listen before making comments like that. Let's move on to Nicholas Jackson, a player that unfortunately, well, I think unfortunately anyway, we've been linked with. Go on then, Joseph, you don't sound happy, so I'll come to you. Would you like to see us sign Nicholas Jackson, and would you be happy to sell Richarlison if it meant we signed Jackson?
You know what, that considering how bad Richarlison is, and I'm still saying no, is really something, isn't it? Because I do not want to see Nicholas Jackson at Tottenham. I really don't. I haven't seen. I mean, I've got one Chelsea friend who's a Chelsea fan. He seems to go on and think Nicholas Jackson is a good player, and I just don't see it. I do not see what he truly brings to a team. I haven't seen it yet. And that's not to say that he couldn't go on and have a good career and he couldn't improve, but I just don't want him at Tottenham. I can't see it happening. I don't want to become Arsenal and keep on getting the Chelsea rejects that they don't want anymore. I'd hate to see it. I'd really hate to see it. And the money they're going to want for him as well, it must be about probably 50, 60, 70 million possibly. And it'll be stupid. It'll be awful. And I think we need to stay so far clear of that. So yeah, but again, knowing Tottenham, it wouldn't be a surprise if you just see, Spurs would be 50 million for Nicholas Jackson. Just because, again, it feels like Tottenham, they read your mind and do exactly the opposite of what you think they should do. It's always been the case. So yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully we can, again, if we were to sell Richarlison, again, personally, I don't think we will. I don't think we're going to be able to get Richarlison out the door. I think he'll stay through the summer window, and I think we're going to be stuck with him and Solanke as our strikers this year. But again, ideally, if we were to sell him, Nicholas Jackson is not the answer.
This appears to be the Richarlison battering show, so I know what the answer is going to be to the question. But Joseph, I'm going to ask you anyway. Let's say it's Richarlison and Solanke, our two strikers for this season. Is there any outside possibility that Richarlison becomes our number one striker? I just think he's a type of player that Frank will want.
No.
I'm not saying it should be the case. But
Joseph, don't waste your time.
No.
You're absolutely fine. The answer's no. Move on.
The answer is no. The only thing I'll say in defence of Richarlison, well, actually, okay, two things. One, his work rate. I have been impressed with his work rate. I think he shows how, he wants to win. He wants to work hard. And you see that every time he plays for Spurs. The other thing is, we've seen in glimpses the player he can be. I remember Everton away a couple of years ago when he scored those 2 goals. And they were 2 fantastic finishes as well, don't we forget. Like, they were 2 great goals. It's just not consistent enough. And I don't see Richarlison ever becoming that consistent player. It's time for him to leave. We have to put our hands up and say it was 60 million really wasted. He just never turned out to be the player that we needed. The injury issues have been too problematic for Spurs. He's never been available when we needed him. And again, work rate is great, but work rate should be a minimum. And again, when you're spending 60 million on Brazil's number 9, you should be coming in with a perfect player who's about to score 15, 20, 25 goals a season. And we never got that. So again, for me, he definitely needs to go, even with those 2 small positives I can get out of his game. I'm trying to give 2 sides of it, Justin. I don't just want to be horrible.
Okay, it was easy enough. The answer was no.
Love it. Let's talk Brian Gill then, because there's been reports that Fabio Paratici is working very hard behind the scenes to move Brian Gill on from Tottenham. Why are we having this conversation in 2025? For many reasons. Kallum, I'll come to you. Will this go down, by the way? The signing of Brian Gill was one of the worst ever Tottenham deals, considering we gave a valuable asset away as Eric Lamela, and we paid 25 million for Brian Gill. We've had some bad deals over the years, and that 2019 summer window, I think you could pick any single one out of it to be up there. But is Brian Gill one of them?
Yeah, I mean, this has got to be up there with like Kamalo and Massiomo Liongu deals. People who never even fucking played for Spurs. So I mean, literally. Yeah, and Ndombele. Oh, at least he did a little bit. At least he scored some goals.
And Ndombele, we paid a fee to rip up his contract. That's the joke of it. We got
We paid.
Less than zero.
He's our record signing, and we paid to rip up his contract. That is how bad that was.
Jack Clark, 750k for, paid about 12 million for.
Sessegnon,
Ryan
free.
Sessegnon, yeah, free, yeah.
Lo Celso, 4.8 million, a 20 million buy clause or something for Cardoso, and then he decides that we don't want him, so he goes to Atletico as well. So it could only be Spurs, couldn't it? So yeah, it's all fun and games.
Can we move on to something a bit more cheery?
No. No, I'm going to ask you about Brian Gill now. You've asked for it.
Oh,
do you think he'd do well at Bologna, Justin? Can Gill do well? Can Gill do well at Bologna? Is he just not right, maybe, for the Premier League?
Bologna, not Bologna.
Well, they're nothing team, you know.
What the fuck's a Bologna? It sounds like
that's going to offend my girlfriend. She's not going to be happy with you.
Kallum, Bologna sounds like somebody we're going to put in a random bid for of 35 million quid. So stop saying it.
Deadline day deal. Spurs are signing Bologna.
Should I drop that in the group chat now? Should I drop a bomber? Should I drop a bomber?
Bomber Bologna.
Tell you what.
You glad you did tonight's show, Harry? You glad you got us free on here? It's your worst nightmare.
In answer to come back to seriousness, in answer to Brian Hill, he was as bad. It would have been better off having Wolowitz off the Big Bang Theory. I'm sorry, we'd have been so much better off having him than that. That's what my kids would call that bozo, right? Absolute bozo. He should be booted out with Richarlison, Bologna, and whoever else we might be looking at. Absolutely rubbish.
I've got
Solomon as well.
Yeah, there's quite a few still to move on, but David Clark in the YouTube chat is funny, to be fair.
Oh, is your audio cut out, Harry?
I don't know. Maybe we've upset him.
Maybe he's gone to Bologna.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? I can hear you now, mate.
Yeah, we can hear you. I think you were having a few network issues with Bologna, to be fair.
Yeah,
Right,
you on their Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
you nicked Bologna's only Wi-Fi code.
I've hacked into my system. What I was trying to say is that David Clark of the YouTube chat makes me laugh. He says Richarlison's like a bricklayer who can lay 1,000 bricks each day, but the house ends up looking like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And he goes on to say that Richarlison can't trap a bag of cement. And don't forget about...
Is Pisa in Bologna?
I'm not answering your question. I'm going to ask you about something different, Kallum. You're not getting to me. Don't worry. Even if you have the tools to try and mute me, I saw that. Let's talk about Alone Watch. Who impressed you, Kallum, at the weekend? A lot of players, Championship League One.
It's got to be Jamie Donnelly for me. 17 minutes, 1 assist, 6 take-ons, 5 successful, 1 aerial duel. I mean, you know me, I'm wax lyrical about this guy. He reminds me of a young Harry Kane, to be honest. Everything that he can do is magic. So, yeah, very impressed by him. Lancashire had a decent debut. They did lose, though. Phillips was okay. Dorrington has been playing 21s, so a little bit strange on that one. But no, I mean,
he started against Celtic, didn't he?
He did. He started against Celtic. They lost 2-0.
Yeah, he played on the 21s, though, on the Friday night as well. So I think they were just trying to get him up to match sharpness, to be honest. But in terms of all of these youth loans, I think they're very positive. That's the thing. We've done great with the youth loans. It's just the senior players don't want to leave and all that. So if these youngsters do well, they're either going to come back and be good for us, or we'll get a good payday out of them. Let's put it that way, which is what you want from your academy.
It's just frustrating that Chelsea and Liverpool are doing so well at selling players, which allows them to literally break the bank. And you've got Tottenham here scraping the barrel for 10 to 15 million.
We act differently to them. You've got to remember, they made it clear to, like, Liverpool made it clear to Darwin Núñez, you stay, you won't play. It's as simple as that. We've got a deal on the table. You can go. You know, you're looking at it with Chelsea. They do the same. They make it very clear to players, if you're going to stay, that is fine, but you will not play. It's as simple as that. We turn around and we do it the other way around. We try and get them out first. And of course, they then view it as, oh, no, I don't want to go. Well, actually, okay, well, we still need you, to be fair. So that's where the issue is. If we turn around and we signed a backup striker and a number 10, and we signed these players and we made it clear that is absolutely fine. You will rot or you will just not get any time, then fine. But we are a big enough club. We don't break the bank with wages. That's the crazy thing. We don't pay nobody at all on our wage structures on 200 grand a week.
But how can you win? Sorry to interrupt, but how can you win the Premier League and Champions League, which Levy says he wants to do, if you have that wage structure which isn't aligned with top 6 clubs? How does that work?
Harry, you're not going to have the time to go into that part, to be fair. And also, as you're trying to keep it PG as much as Kallum is trying to do everything to avoid that.
Always does.
We're after 9 o'clock now. I'm free.
Well, to be honest, I'm going to be shooting in a minute, so I'll let you have free reign on that one.
I've got permission now. I'm free.
Right. Who let you on? Right, let's move now to PSG. Super Cup final. I mean, maybe it's just a little bit of a fantasy whether we can compete with PSG or not. I guess we'll find out, getting your guys' thoughts. Joseph, I'll start with you. How are you feeling going into the game?
You know what? I think I'm one person who's quite unbothered about how it goes. I know obviously some people are really, are really talking it up and feel like it's a really big deal. I don't see it. I think it's just a European Community Shield, and I don't think it's going to be a big deal if we win or lose. The only hope I've got is we don't get embarrassed, but I do see us getting embarrassed because PSG are just that good. I know, obviously, from the Club World Cup, obviously their last professional or competitive game, they lost to Chelsea, and they were very, Chelsea completely deserved that win. They dominated that game. I don't see Tottenham doing the same, especially after that Bayern Munich game in pre-season. We were completely and utterly beaten in that, and I think PSG will do exactly the same tomorrow night. I think they'll. Well, not tomorrow night, Wednesday night. Sorry, I think they will completely and utterly batter us. I think they'll be the much better team. And all we can do is hope that the scoreline isn't too disappointing and maybe flatters us a little bit. But again, I don't really, I'm not too bothered. I thought I would care more about this game, but I don't. I think if we win, that's great. If we lose, oh well. And we go into the season and look to, really create something in the league, hopefully. I mean, Burnley, we should be trying to get a win in that game. So, yeah, not too bothered about the scoreline. But hopefully we see a good performance, if that's possible.
Fair enough. I hope you're right. Kallum, I want to talk to you now. You're the most negative person in the world, but I like to look at, on the positive side, glass half full. Does the fact that PSG, they haven't had a proper pre-season, they've just had the Club World Cup almost as their stand-in pre-season, does that give you any hope that Spurs may be fitter?
I would hope so. I do hope. And I don't know what's happened to him, but I mean, he has released the shackles. So, no, in all honesty, I think that the fact that PSG haven't kicked a ball in over a month could work in our favour. The only problem is that the amount of fit players in certain positions for us is my main concern for it. And that's where we are limited. But I've got faith. I want us to win this, to be honest, because in all honesty, it'd be great to get 2 trophies. And the fact that ESPN put out today that Arsenal won 3 trophies at, did you say 3 trophies as well?
Yeah, I think we've won 3. We've won that one against Arsenal, see?
Every trophy's a trophy. You can't class that because the fact that ESPN pumped out that ad today with them 3 trophies that Arsenal won at Wembley and 2 of them are friendlies. I mean, I don't want to be compared to them, but if we win 2 proper trophies, that'll mean that we've beaten the best team ultimately in Europe and also won the Europa League final. So that means a lot more to me than faffing about doing it. So if we do it, it'd be great, to be honest. But it's going to be a tough game because we know how class PSG are. Even on a bad day, they still look good.
I think the one thing that could be good, obviously, I know João Neves is suspended, which I think is a big benefit for Spurs because João Neves is an unbelievable player. And Donnarumma has been left out of the squad, obviously, due to the transfer speculation. So then again, they have just Lucas Chevalier from, I think it's Lille, and he is a quality goalkeeper.
He's a class goalkeeper, ain't he?
I remember about a year and a half ago, I was writing some reports for the Spurs web, and I said about Spurs getting Lucas Chevalier as that kind of successor to Vicario when he was looking a bit shaky. And now he's gone to PSG for 60 million. And he looks like he's going to be France's number one going forward. So definitely would have been a good one. But he isn't what Donnarumma was last year, especially towards the end of the year. Donnarumma was unbelievable, probably the best goalkeeper in the world, basically. And maybe it's something. Again, he's obviously only just got there. He hasn't really played with the team yet, so you never know. It might cause some issues. But again, the big one for me, João Neves. I think he's one of the best midfielders in the world, and the fact that he's suspended is a big thing for Spurs.
Joseph, do you still agree that they are clear favourites going into it, despite missing João Neves, Donnarumma, etc., etc.?
I mean, the fact that we just got battered by Bayern Munich, obviously their first team in the first half, towards the end, their under-16s team, pretty much. The fact that we lost to that doesn't fill me with confidence going up against the European champions, the true European champions in that sense. They've got quality all over the pitch. I mean, their midfield in Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, and obviously it's usually João Neves, but they've got other options. Zaire Emery is one of the best young French midfielders, and yet he doesn't even get into their starting 11. Their attack is so... Desiree Doué, I'm scared for who comes up against him because they will get
him and Barcola. Him and Barcola will skin us.
This is what Barcola usually starts on the bench because they have Ousmane Dembele, they have Kvaratskhelia. Their team is just packed with quality. And this is the type of team I want Tottenham to aspire to be, because it's one thing that they're unbelievable at football, but it's also the fact that they play with such freedom, such free-flowing football of creativity and quality. It's so exciting to watch. And this is what, if we were to go get Savinho, Eze and Kudus, that is what we should be trying to replicate if we can. It's the perfect. It's exciting to watch, and they win. It's exactly what we want. It reminds me of the football I grew up watching when you saw just players express themselves and play beautiful football. We've kind of lost that a little bit with the Pep style of football, and everything's become very rigid and very systematic. And I feel like PSG have completely kind of gone away from that and gone back to that kind of thing that I think a lot of people fall in love with football. So hopefully Tottenham might be able to replicate that with a few signings.
Let's hope so. But don't worry, we have Ben Davis. There's no need to worry. It's sorted out. Don't worry. He'll deal with Doué.
Can I please? I really want to say it. I really want to say
anyway,
it, but I really can't.
My view on PSG Spurs is simple. We're going to get annihilated. It's as simple as that. The only thing that we can try and do, I think, is try and play, the likes of Paulinho, Kudus in his right position, try and get some minutes into Solanke, people like that. Try and at least have a shape of a team that, okay, if we're going to lose, we'll lose. But I think kind of like what Joseph said, we go out there, we give it a fight, and we show that there is more to come from this, and that we can go and put on a good show. Because the most important part will be, what we do on Saturday against Burnley. Because I think if we have a poor start there, then that could cause issues that ripple around the club.
Okay. No, thank you very much. I tell you what, I've got a question. I'm going to ask you, Justin. Would you take losing to Burnley on the opening day on Saturday if it meant we beat PSG and won the Super Cup final?
Yes.
You would?
Simple as that, because I don't see, in my eyes, under this ownership, we've reached the pinnacle. We cannot go any higher. We will not win the Champions League under this ownership. We will not win the Premier League under this ownership, because we do not act like a top European club. We do not act like a top Premier League club. So to take that, I think it would then potentially push the club to have to go and then actually go and spend, because fans wouldn't be happy. But yeah, if you told me we could have the Super Cup and we lose at Burnley, yeah, I'd take it. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's why I asked. I thought that it'd make you think about it, and I agree with you. Joseph, I have a feeling that you don't agree. So would you like to explain your view and why?
Well, to be fair, he has actually kind of convinced me a tiny bit. I think he's right. I
Ah.
think I didn't really think of it that way. The way that I sometimes looked at the Super Cup, I mean, before Tottenham were in it, it was genuinely a European Community Shield. Whoever loses it doesn't really care. If you win it, yeah, it's fine. But you're focused on the start of the season usually. It's not really a massive deal. Now, I think for us Tottenham fans, maybe it is becoming a bigger deal because we don't usually have many finals to play in. And, you know, it's been 17 years since we won a trophy. We finally won one. I think for a lot of people, they would like to win another one. But I don't know, just for me personally, I don't think there's a lot of weight to it. I think we're adding weight to this trophy because we haven't won many. I think for a lot of teams, it was about winning the Europa League, it was about winning the Champions League. I don't think PSG truly care if they win tomorrow or not. Oh, sorry, on Wednesday or not. I think for Spurs, it probably means more, but I still don't think it means everything. I don't think it's going to be the biggest deal if we win it or lose it. So I don't know. Part of me wants us to start well in the Premier League, and again, still in my opinion, right now where the squad is at, I mean, we haven't bought Savinho yet. It's not done. The squad's in a poor place, and we're not in a position where we're expected. I'm not exactly expecting Tottenham to fly up the league next year. I'm expecting us to struggle. At the moment, I do think we're, about 10th place. And again, we saw what happened last year and how quickly we dropped down once we had injuries. I think Tottenham we need to get points very quickly, and we need to build something that's solid enough to just keep us in a steady position. And losing to Burnley first game of the season isn't going to do that. So I don't know. I do get where Justin's coming from, though. It's sad to say that you're kind of saying that Wednesday night is the pinnacle of Tottenham Hotspur, and then it's just all downhill from there. That's pretty much what you're saying, and that's a shame. I don't want to think that way, but I do understand where you're coming from.
Love that. Thank you. Kallum. Don't mute me, Kallum. Kallum, I was going to ask you a question, actually. I was going to ask you what you thought and what means more to you, the Super Cup final or Burnley on Saturday?
Super Cup, to be honest. I think just it'd be nice to have more trophies. In all honesty, we can at least beat low blocks at least once a season. So you don't always get to play a final, do you? And it's kind of all led to this moment from the Europa League. So might as well just go for it, to be honest. I'd rather that than faff about with Burnley, to be honest. I'm not going to lie.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's get to your score predictions then. Joseph, let's start with you. Your score prediction for Wednesday.
4-0 PSG.
Okay.
PSG is so good. They're such a good football team. And Tottenham are not a good football team. So
that's soul destroying, but probably true. Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, I always ask for honesty, don't I? So yeah, I'll get that back. Justin?
I'm going to be, do you know what? I'm going to ignore Joseph. I am really going to be positive. I think we can get a good result out of this. So I'm going to go 3-1 PSG.
Okay, interesting. Kallum?
I really thought you were going to possibly actually sway. And I was thinking there's a chance you do that. But then I was like, no, the more you talk, you're going to say that we're going to win. No, you're right. You know.
I'm thinking 2-1 PSG.
Yeah, I was thinking 2-1 or 3-1. Yeah, okay. So we're all going for PSG wins. Okay, let's hope we're all wrong, I suppose. But
what's your prediction?
Head or heart? Which one do you want? Depends. Logic.
I don't know, somewhere in the middle.
No, I think PSG will win. I think 3-1. I hope I'm wrong, but I just think they're too good for Tottenham. I think it'll be closer than maybe it would be later on in the season, but I hope that we can put up some kind of fight more than we did against Bayern's kids. Put it that way. But Joseph, thank you for swinging the question back to me. And that kind of wraps up, though, nicely for this podcast. So thank you all for staying to the end. Let's see where you can find all of you across social media. Joseph, remind people what you do and where people can find you.
Yeah, thank you for having me again, Harry. It's been really great. I always knew when I saw it was Cal and Justin, it was going to be a great podcast. So I really enjoyed talking Spurs. First time we've done it in a while. So looking forward to the season and getting into it and doing some more podcasts and doing some more content with you. Some maybe content on my own. I'm trying to plan on publishing some of my own videos and things like that. So yeah, look at doing that in the future. Please follow me on X, Joseph THFC. Again, just kind of putting out my thoughts sometimes on some lives and again talking Tottenham. But again, really again a big thanks to you, Harry. Always a great host as always, and yeah, really enjoyed it all. So thank you very much.
No, lovely. Thank you. Real pleasure to have you on as always, Joseph. So thank you very much. Can't say the same for the other two, but let's see where you can find them nonetheless. Only joking. Justin, where can people find you?
Yeah, Harry, thank you so much for having us on. Obviously, Joseph being the mature one from the looks of everybody here. Obviously it's good to catch up with Kallum, my full brother from another mother. So as I said, it's probably here if we're ever put back on again. I mean, you did say you were down to bare bones. I mean, blimey, this is like the Kallum Davenport, and Gary Doherty of Tottenham last resort. That is, he came to me in Kallum. So thanks for having us on. I'll see you in about 6 months. You can probably find me on Twitter if I'm allowed.
Scraping the barrel like Tottenham in the transfer window. But thank you very much for coming on, Justin. It's been a while. Wonder why. Kallum, thank you as well for coming back on. Where can people find you across social media?
So you can find me at CallumStubbs97. You can find me on Part Lane Podcast, Spurs Diehards as well, on multiple different group chats as well. I know people are getting bored of me probably now, and hopefully should be on very soon. I think I've pulled out the last 2 shows that I've been on because I've been busy. So we shall see. We shall see if I'm ever invited back on, or if not, me and JJ will be locked up in a room with an aardvark. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, tut. That's all I'm going to say. But no, thank you very much for this week's episode. If you're new to the channel, a bit of a crazy one, please do like and subscribe still if you found that okay. If you're listening on a podcast platform, please do drop us a follow and a 5-star review. In the next tomorrow morning, you can find I've done a preview with a PSG Ultras fan, and has been for a long time, big part of the PSG Ultras, which is very interesting. So that was interesting. Didn't like the questions about the Qatari ownership, so it was very interesting. We dive deep into a lot of things, so do check that out. A lot of content coming in the next few days, but that's it from me for now. You'll be glad to know. For now, though, a massive come on you Spurs, and fingers crossed for Wednesday.